Hey guys, it's me KSMR here, and today I'm going to be reading a Tsukishima Kei ex-listener. This one is titled Dear to Me, and this is a Tsukishima Kei ex-male suicidal listener, so if you guys are any of those, welcome. And the author, I'm going to read the little author's note. This is not trying to romanticize suicidal or harmful thoughts. It's just they wanted to write something that they experienced and stuff like that. And obviously a trigger warning for this video is mentions and scenes of self-harm, self-hate, suicidal thoughts and actions, abuse, which is not detailed, drinking, and stupid kids who think they're cool for making fun of others, but they're not. So if any of those things do trigger you, please click off the video and go watch something else. I don't want to be triggering anybody with this. So if that is the case, make sure you go ahead and click off. And without further ado now, let's get right on into the video. All Yuan's life, he was not only constantly put down by others, but by himself as well. His parents were always disappointed in him no matter what he did at school, and the other kids would always repeatedly tell him that he wasn't good enough. Whether he got a bad grade on a test or a good one, the classmates would always make fun of him and tease him, telling him no matter how hard he tried, he could never move on in life with scores that he got. If someone ever noticed him staring at another student with what seemed to be romantic interest, they'd make sure to let him know that the person would never want him back because he was such a loser. Then they would turn around and laugh about it with their friends, as tears gathered in the corner of Yuan's eyes. Yuan believed every single word that left their mouths. No matter how harsh or vulgar they were, he thought that they were speaking nothing but the truth, and he hated himself for it. He would constantly beat himself up alone in his room, telling himself that he wasn't good enough, that he was nothing but a failure, a disappointment, that he didn't deserve to live. The sad part was that he was okay with the thought of no longer living. Time skip. In his first year, Yuan met a boy. He'd never really thought about what his sexuality was. He just knew that he would love whoever the hell he wanted to. The hard part was actually finding someone who would love him back. The boy's name was Tsukishima Kei. He was quite taller than Yuan was. If you're taller than him, I'm sorry. He had blonde hair and the most beautiful brown eyes that Yuan had ever seen. From the information that he had gathered, he knew the blonde was a middle blocker on their school's volleyball team. It was a Monday morning, the worst day according to many students, Yuan included. He hated Mondays for the lone reason that on that specific day of the week, everybody seemed a little more grumpy and rude, which meant all the words and phrases that was tossed his way were even worse than any other time of the week. Recently, he had been hiding out in the volleyball gym on Monday mornings and some afternoons. If he didn't want to go home to his parents, he just watched the team go through their practice. No one really minded him being there, which surprised him a little bit. Most people found him revolting to be around. He was currently sat against the wall as a team practice. He had heard that they were getting ready for nationals, but he wasn't sure if that was true or not. He had never really paid much attention to sports. He subconsciously pulled on the sleeve of his uniform, tugging it as far down as it would go. On his wrists were both new and faded marks, put onto his skin by not only himself, but his parents as well. Both of his parents had drinking problems and would often get drunk to the point where even the slightest noise would anger them, leading them to hitting or throwing things at Yuan. It wasn't a good thing, but he had gotten used to it at this point. If anything, he thought that he deserved it. That's what led to him being in the gym right now. He knew his parents were at home getting drunk, just as they were the night before, and the night before that. His mother had gotten a pay cut at work yesterday, and she came home angrier than usual, which led to drink after drink after drink until she could barely stand up. And Yuan had chosen that exact moment to walk through the front door. He'd have bruises all over his chest and stomach for weeks. A loud whistle sounded through the gym, echoing off the walls. Yuan looked up from his sleeve to see the team cleaning up and heading to change. Taking this as a good time to leave, he packed up his things and made his way out of the gym. What he didn't notice was that a pair of brown eyes were following his retreating form. Time skip. The next day in a science class, Yuan had stared out the window as the teachers droned on and on, one of his hands picking at his pants. The other rested on his thigh, his fingers tapping every now and then. He had turned his attention back to the lesson, mentally telling himself that he was an idiot for the fact that he actually failed to pay attention to what he was supposed to be learning. As the teacher spoke, Yuan could feel his heartbeat quicken at her words. Now, you all know that you've been studying for some time now, and I feel that you guys should be prepared for this. I'll be assigning a project that's due in exactly 2 weeks from today. At the beginning of class, This will be a partner project, and it will be presented to the rest of the class. Yuan fingers tapped more against his thigh as he bit his lip. It's alright, he thought. No one will want to be my partner anyways, so I'll just have to do it by myself. I can easily convince the teacher to let me get out of the presentation, as long as my project is good. Now, that might not sound so bad to most of you, but there's a catch. Most of the students groaned, while others were rolling their eyes, or looked unbothered. Yuan felt like he was going to puke. I will be assigning the partners, and you must do the presentation. This is our fifth one of this year, and I think you should be able to do a little presentation in front of the class. It isn't that difficult. No. This isn't good. Now, the teacher said, picking up the piece of paper from her desk, I'll be telling you who your partners are, and then I'll get into more detail about your project. She started by calling name after name, Yuan sinking lower into his seat after each and every name. He wanted nothing more than to disappear and never come back. And last but not least, last name in Tsukishima. And now the requirements for the project are. After that, Yuan had turned his head out once again. He gripped his pants tightly, his knuckles turning white. Oh yeah, he definitely felt like he was gonna puke. Time skip. Once the bell had rang, Yuan was quick to throw his things into a bag, hoping to get out of the class without much trouble. Obviously, luck was not on his side. It never really was. Tsukishima walked over to the shorter male, looking down at him with a blank expression. So, you're my partner, he said, but it sounded more like a statement than a question. Just a heads up, I don't like slackers, so if you plan on putting barely any effort in, I suggest you back out now and just take the 0. Yuan stared at the blonde, confusion evident in his face. No, I plan to try my best on it, he mumbled, looking off to the side, hoping to avoid the other's gaze. Tsukishima nodded. Good. We should start working on it soon. Are you free this afternoon? Yuan was quick to nod. He'd take any excuse to not go home. Then we'll work on it after school at my place. Wait on the other side of the school. Wait for me outside at the back of the school. At the school gates, sorry. With that, the tall blonde walked off, leaving Yuan there, wondering how well this would all turn out. Time skip. The end of the day came by very slow for Yuan, as it usually did. He had gotten teased and picked on multiple times, and even got hit in the face by one of the kids who thought he was all tough at lunch. He had still felt his cheek throbbing from the impact of the boy's fist, and the cut on his lip still stinging. He waited for Tsukishima by the school gates, like he'd been instructed to, and soon the two were at the blonde's house, sitting in his room just as they planned out their project. Our explanation will go here, and our diagram will go here. Yuan listened to the layout of their project, watching Tsukishima pointing his fingers to different things that he had drawn out onto his notebook, nodding along now and then. When everything was planned, the two boys started researching everything they needed to know, jotting down notes. Hey, Yuan. Tsukishima called out from his place on his bed, not looking up from his notebook that he was currently writing in. The male paused his own note-taking, looking up at the other male as he spotted him across the room. Yeah? Why do you have all those marks and cuts all over your body? Yuan could feel himself freeze, his fingers going numb as he dropped his pencil. What marks? I don't know what you're talking about, he said, though his tone definitely was not convincing. He heard the sound of bedsheets ruffling, and soon two legs entered his gaze, looking at the floor. He lifted his head up and saw Tsukishima in front of him. His legs crossed and his eyes narrowed ever so slightly behind his glasses. These, he said as he reached out, grabbing the boy's wrist, before he had time to react, pushing up his sleeve to reveal faded cut marks. And new ones, too. Where are these from? Yuan could feel his heart rate quicken as his breath had got caught in his throat. How did you know? I've noticed you constantly tugging and pulling down your sleeves at practice. I'm not oblivious, Tsukishima said, his fingers still wrapped securely around the other's wrist. You don't need to tell me. He loosened his grip. But if you ever need someone, just... The blonde paused, seeming to be thinking his choice of words. Yuan blinked as he had watched the lightest color of pink appear on his cheeks. You can talk to me if you ever need to, Tsukishima finished. Yuan stared at him as his words slowly registered in the other's head, before slowly nodding his head, tears gathering in his eyes. Yeah, he said quietly. Thank you. Time skip. Over the 2 weeks that they had worked on the project together, Yuan and Tsukishima had gotten closer. They had exchanged numbers. "It's only so I can call you about the project," Tsukishima had strictly reminded him, and even waved at each other in the hallway. Of course, the other students still weren't leaving him alone. He knew that they wouldn't. That's okay, though, because for once in his life, Yuan had made a friend. He came home sometime the following week, in a little better of a mood than usual. He and Tsukishima had hung out a bit after school to work on their project again, and it was just the sight of the blonde that made him happy, though his mood was immediately crushed to pieces as soon as he arrived home. As soon as he stepped through the living room, Yuan knew that it was definitely going to be a rough night. He could tell that his parents had been drinking. The smell in the air and their sluggish movements told him everything that he needed to know. When he turned on his ankle and went to leave, he froze as his mother spoke. "Boy, get over here, you mistake," she slurred, causing the boy to turn around slowly. He walked over to the woman, his mind racing with thoughts about what might happen. "Where have you been?" His father leaned over as he questioned him, the beer bottle in his hand swishing against the glass. I was working on a project at a friend's house." His words are cut off by his mother's loud and drunken laughter. "You have a friend? That's rich." Yuan bit his lip as she continued to laugh, his father joining in as well. "Let me show you why a disappointment like you shouldn't have friends," his father said, standing up as his mother followed. Yuan gulped as he took a step back. He knew he wasn't getting out of this one. Time skip. It was 10 in the evening. Yuan had sat on his bedroom floor, his leg curled up into his chest as his shoulders shook with the force of his sobs. His body ached and he could feel his head pounding. Everything hurt. His mind replayed what had just happened an hour ago, the words his parents screamed at him, every swing that they took at him. He clutched a very small silver razor that was in his hand, feeling the blade cut through his skin. It hurt, but not as much as the rest of his body. If anything, it felt good. So he gripped it between his fingers and started counting them as he went off. 1. Disappointment. 2. Mistake. 3. No one would ever love someone like me. 4. I'm useless. I can't do anything right. 5. I might as well just die. He threw the blade across the bathroom, listening to it cling against the wall as tears had blinded his vision. He had ignored the stinging pain in his arms and the sticky liquid that trailed down it. Pulling himself to his feet, he stumbled out of the bathroom and left to his room. Heading for the front door, his parents had passed out 40 minutes ago, so he wouldn't have been seen. Not that he cared anymore. He had left his house and ran. He had no clue where he was going. One word consistently kept repeating around in his mind, as if it were a broken record. Die, 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 die. You're better off dead. He stopped, his legs suddenly feeling too heavy to carry. He wiped off his tears from his eyes, blinking a few times to clear his vision. He glanced around him. He was on a bridge. The sky was dark, and the road was dimly lit by a few streetlights. A few cars passed by, the bridge being empty other than that. Yuan glanced over at the edge, where the water was below, watching it glisten under the moonlight. He balled up his fist. His knuckles were turning white. This was it. One simple movement that it would all end. And it would all end. He took a step forward, placing his hands on the beam. All he had to do was lift his leg over and push. He had raised his foot off the ground, starting to climb on. Then he paused. Sudden images of Tsukishima filled his head, including all the images of the volleyball team. He had made himself familiar with the whole team as well, getting along with them quite easily. Yuan had blinked away, the new tears forming in his eyes, as his hand moved to his pocket, shakily pulling out his phone. "You don't need to tell me," he loosened. "But if you ever need someone, just..." The blonde paused before thinking over his choice of words. This is a flashback, by the way. I don't know if I said that. Yuan blinked as he watched the slightest color of pink appear on his cheeks. "You can talk to me if you want," Tsukishima finished. Yuan stared at him, slowly registering the other's words, before slowly nodding his head and feeling tears gather in his eyes. "Yeah," he said quietly. He unlocked it and typed the numbers that he knew by heart, raising the phone to his ear as he let out heavy breaths. "Hello?" That's wrong. "Hello? Tsukishima?" Yuan choked out, feeling his throat feel dry. "Yuan, what's wrong?" You could feel the sudden change of tone in the blonde's voice. "Could you come get me? I'm on a bridge on the way to school from your house." Yeah, of course. His reply sounded rushed as he was wrestling on the other line. I'll be there in 5, he took a deep breath. Don't do anything stupid. Yuan hung up. Time had passed by very quickly as Yuan stared at the water blankly. His hand twitched against his thigh every so often. The sound of a car pulling up to stop made him blink, turning around slowly to see who was there. He saw Tsukishima getting out of the passenger seat of the door. The blonde rushed over to Yuan and immediately pulled him down from the beam. You idiot, he mumbled into Yuan's shoulder as he tightened his arms around him. Yuan didn't say anything, his mind still foggy, but slowly he raised his arms and wrapped them around Tsukishima weakly. In response, Tsukishima hugged him tighter. Please, don't do that again. Yuan could only nod, his forehead rubbing against Tsukishima's coat. Thank you. Can somebody do this for me? Nah, I don't got anybody to call. I need me a Tsukishima in my life. When am I gonna find that? Anyways, that was a really cute story. Well, I mean, more so sad, but I mean, I thought it was cute. So, mostly just cute because low-key, I would do this. But I wouldn't have anybody to call. I don't have a Tsukishima in my life. Maybe when I'm I don't know, maybe if I get one, that would be nice. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. That was depressing. So hopefully if you do get triggered by that, so I hope you fucking left, because that could have been very triggering for somebody. I mean, things don't trigger me like that, so I'm pretty good with that kind of stuff. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys have had a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. If you did like the video, make sure to subscribe, please, and tap the notification bell so you get notified every single time I post a video. And also like the video because it does something for the YouTube algorithm. And also, yeah, that's all I have to say now. Thank you guys for watching. Have a fantastic day, and goodbye.